Hi, this is lesson 2.3.4 and actually the last lesson in this chapter. All right, so we end with really just some practice on similar triangle proofs. Um, the lesson actually goes over a couple other things that I feel like it's okay if we don't necessarily go over those right now, but I feel it's a little bit more important for us to practice a little bit of what we've already been doing. And so, really, I'm just going to give you a set of problems for you to do. And I'm not going to work these out, but it's really for you to try, and then we could go over this in class. Um, if not early in the week, maybe late in the week, we might actually go over the answers to these. So definitely I'm going to need you to watch these and try to do these problems so that uh, you could see if you're doing this correctly or not. All right, so a couple things. One is, can you determine if the two triangles are congruent and or similar? We haven't really talked about them together. It's earlier in the chapter we talked about how are triangles congruent and then how are triangles similar. And I didn't really make the connection between the two. All right, so if similar means they're the same shape, but they could be different sizes. Congruent means they're the same shape, but they're the exact same size. So when we talk about similar shapes, that means the ratios are the same. So if we have like 10 over 5, 10 over 5, and we have 12 over 6, well, those both reduce to 2, which is nice. So we can say, oh, they're similar. But if I have 10 over 5 on one side and let's say 10 over 5 on the other, that also reduces to 2, right? So the other sides, um, the ratios have to be the same, and we know they're similar. Now with congruency, if it's like, oh, one side's 10 and in the other triangle it's 10, and then the other side is 5 and 5, well, those both reduce to 1. So we're still comparing side ratios. The only difference is when it equals to 1, then we could say it's congruent. When it equals to something else, like 2 or 3 or 1.5, then we just say they're similar. But as soon as it equals to 1, then we're going to say that they're congruent. So if they're similar, we will also want to check to see if they're congruent. If something's not similar, then that means for sure they're not congruent, right? So it's either possibly both, or just one of them, or none of them. All right. So we definitely want to explain how you know. So I want to see if you could use some of the conditions, similarity conditions and congruency conditions. So there's 4 problems here. I've kind of highlighted corresponding information. I'm going to kind of go over, give you some ideas of what approach to take without me actually doing any work. So that'll be for you to kind of to decide. On the first problem, I notice I have all side information. All right, so I've labeled the corresponding sides. So the small ones are the same color, the larger sides are the same color. Right, so I've tried to match those up for you. So I see all the sides are the same. So then I'm thinking they might be similar by side, and maybe even you might want to check to see if they're congruent by side as well. So I would probably test out side on this one. Doesn't mean they are. I'm just saying you should probably test that one out. And then on part B, I notice I have an angle and the side opposite it. I have that same angle and the side opposite it. And so we definitely have 2 pairs of angles and a side. It looks like we have some some of the same information, which is nice. But I do notice there's a 48 here and there's a 112 here, which makes me think like, oh, then they're probably not the same. But what might be helpful would be to find the missing angle. All right, so maybe even find both of those angles and say, okay, is it equal to 112 or does it equal to something else? So you probably want to find that angle first and then try to figure out, are these triangles similar? And then determine, are they congruent? And then part C, I notice right away, I notice a right triangles. So we're going to use, for similarity, if we wanted to use side angle side, we'd have to figure out the missing side here. If I want to use anything else besides that, side, side, side on both of these, then I have to figure out both of these missing sides. So you might actually have to use Pythagorean theorem, right? Remember, so that's kind of a squared plus b squared equals to c squared. So if you know how to do that, then you could figure out some missing sides and maybe use that to help you determine if the sides are proportional or not, or congruent, right? So also, if you wanted to use HL at all, if you're proving congruency, then you for sure would have to have this measurement as well. So most likely, I think you're probably going to have to use Pythagorean theorem. Once you have all that information, it'll be a lot easier. And then the last one, I notice I've highlighted some angles that are the same, so that's awesome. Possibly for similarity, I see two angles, so maybe angle similarity on that one. The question is, are they congruent? So I have a side and I have two angles, and I have also a side and two angles, but I noticed it's in a different location. I noticed these are corresponding, but so think about that and think, can you claim that they're congruent or not? All right, so in kind of summary, the questions you're trying to answer. First, decide, are they similar? For each one, you're going to decide, are they similar? If they are, which condition says they are? If they happen to be similar, then you're going to decide, are they congruent? If so, what condition can you use for congruency? All right, so if I'll give you a hint, if this is a no, then this one has to be a no. But if this is a yes, then this could either be a yes or a no. All right, so keep that in mind. So if this one's a no, then this one has to be a no. If it's a yes, then it might be a yes or a no. So keep that in mind. And then you have to give the condition. Is it angle, similarity? Is it side, angle, side, 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 etc. So you might want to review those or look back at your notes on that. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'll just go leave that here for you. Again, we'll go over these in class, but these are for you to try. All right, that's it for this video.